If you handed me a magic remote and said I could press one button to change how most people feel about money, I wouldn't choose the button that adds $1 million to their account. I'd choose the one that helps them build and hold the first 10,000. Because that's the moment everything tilts. That's when you stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you have a say. $10,000 isn't flashy. It doesn't get you a yacht or even a new car, but it buys you something far more powerful. The ability to start saying no to the stuff that wastes your time, your energy, and your attention. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hit 10 grand and start saying no. I want to keep this simple and practical, the way I try to think about all things money. I'm talking to you like we're sitting across a kitchen table, coffee in hand, nothing fancy. Maybe you've been grinding for years and it feels like the numbers never move. Maybe you've tried half a dozen budgeting apps and every one of them made you feel like you're failing math. Maybe you're doing okay on paper, but there's that knot in your stomach when a light pops on in the car or your boss hints that next quarter might be rough. If any of that is you, this is your episode. $10,000 is a small freedom fund. It's the flip from survival mode to choice mode. Before you have it, every unexpected bill is a crisis. After you have it, most of those bills are annoyances. That's a very different way to live. When a problem is a crisis, it crowds out your thinking. When it's an annoyance, you shrug, handle it, and move on. That's the first big change you'll feel. You go from constantly bracing for impact to having little space to breathe. Breathing room is invisible on a spreadsheet, but you'll feel it in your shoulders, in your sleep, in the way you talk to people at work and at home. Another change you'll notice is how your decisions get better, not because you suddenly become brilliant, but because you're no longer cornered. Cornered people take cornered deals. With $10,000 in the bank, you can say no to the extra shift that pays the same but drains you for 2 days. You can say no to a predatory loan. You can say no to the lowball job offer because you can afford to wait 2 more weeks for interviews 2 and 3. You don't need to be rich to make better choices. You need just enough cushion to avoid the worst ones. That's what this is about. People ask, why 10,000? Why not 5? Why not 20? The exact number is less important than the effect. 10,000 is big enough to absorb the most common surprises without you reaching for a credit card. It's a number the brain respects. It feels like something real. And it's close enough that you can hit it in months, not decades, if you build a little momentum. When you pick a target that actually moves within your field of vision, you stick with it. Progress is addictive. Now, let's talk about how you get there. You don't need clever hacks. You need a short list of behaviors you're willing to do when you're tired, stressed, and busy. Because there will be plenty of days like that. Automation helps because it asks nothing of your willpower. Here's the move. Open a separate high-yield savings account and nickname it something that reminds you what it's for. Freedom Fund, Runway, Say No Money, whatever makes you smirk a little when you see it. Set an automatic transfer for the day after your paycheck hits. Start with a number that doesn't scare you. 10% is lovely, 5% is fine, 2% is a start. The exact amount matters far less than the fact that it happens without you thinking about it. The second move is to create a short, boring list of expenses you'll actively attack for 90 days. Not your whole budget, 3 to 5 items. Look for the things that renew invisibly. Subscriptions, plans, bundles, insurances, fees, nobody explained. The streaming services you need, but can't name the last time you used. Your script is polite and persistent. Call. Ask for a better rate. Ask about new customer promotions. Ask what you can drop without losing what you actually use. If you save $20 here and $15 there and $30 over there, it won't feel like a revolution, but it will move the needle. Every dollar you squeeze from fixed costs is a dollar that hits your freedom fund every single month, quietly, in the background. Third move. Find one clean way to raise your income by a few hundred a month for the next 3 months. I'm not asking you to become an entrepreneur overnight, and I'm not asking you to burn yourself out. I'm asking you to pick one thing that fits into your life with minimal friction. A weekend shift that you can tolerate because it has an end date. A small freelance project in a skill you already have. Selling the stuff you've been meaning to sell. You don't have to love it. You have to be able to do it consistently for 90 days. If you can add $200 to $400 a month for 1 quarter, you'll be shocked at how much faster the balance climbs. While you're doing those 3 things, automate, trim, add a little income, I want you to think about milestones, not the full mountain. A lot of people quit because 10,000 looks far away on day 1. So we break it into something your brain can cheer for. The first win is 1,000. That's the moment most small fires stop feeling like 5-alarm events. The second win is 3,000. The third is 6. Each time you cross one, mark it. No confetti cannons, just a note on the fridge, a quick text to yourself, a family dinner at home where you say out loud, "We just moved the goalpost. Good job." You are not just building a pile of money, you're building a new identity, the identity of someone who takes care of future you. That identity is what keeps the pile growing after the excitement wears off. Let's clear a couple of myths. Myth 1, you should invest every extra dollar because cash doesn't earn enough. Long-term, investing is essential. But if you don't have a small freedom fund, the market's normal ups and downs will push you around. You'll buy when you feel confident and sell when you feel scared, which is to say, you'll do the opposite of what works. Your cash cushion is not lazy. It is doing heavy psychological labor. It buys you the ability to sit still when stillness is the right move. The return on that is high, even if the interest rate is not. Myth 2, you have to suffer to save. You don't. You do have to choose. There's a difference. The goal here isn't to build a life you hate in order to afford a life you might like later. The goal is to simplify just enough that the dollars you don't notice are working for you. If going out with friends keeps your spirits up and your relationship strong, keep it. If daily delivery leaves you with the same empty container and no memory of the meal, maybe that's your easy win. What you keep and what you cut will not look like anyone else's list. It doesn't need to. Myth 3. You need to know everything about money to start. No, you need to know this. Earn a bit more than you spend, save the difference automatically, and avoid debt you can't pay off quickly. That's the engine. Everything else is trim and polish. What about debt you already have? Here's a simple approach that keeps you moving without tying your brain in knots. Continue minimums on everything and choose one balance as the target, the smallest or the highest rate. Your call. I like smallest because quick wins build momentum. While you're building your freedom fund, throw a steady side payment at that target. When it disappears, roll that payment onto the next one. You're doing 2 things at once, building safety and shrinking the anchors. It feels slower than going all in on either one, but it's more sustainable for most people because life doesn't pause while you perfect your finances. Let's talk about work. $10,000 will change how you show up. When you're no longer terrified of missing a paycheck, you negotiate differently. You ask better questions in interviews. You don't accept vague promises in place of clear offers. You feel less trapped in a toxic team because you have a few weeks of runway to make a switch. You still need skill, effort, and a reputation for reliability. Money doesn't replace those. It supports them. It gives you the calm that lets your best qualities show up on the days that matter. There's also a shift at home that I want to name because it's real and it's important. Money friction inside families often isn't about greed or irresponsibility. It's about anxiety. When one flat tire can knock over the whole month, every purchase feels loaded. When there's a small cushion, the temperature drops. Conversations get kinder. You can plan. You can say yes to a birthday dinner without scanning the credit limit. You can look at next summer and think, maybe we take that modest trip, and you can start putting $50 a month toward it without messing up the light bill. This is not luxury. This is stability. Stability is an underrated luxury. If you're listening to this and thinking, it sounds good, but my numbers are messy, my month is already packed, I've tried and failed before, good. That means you're in the same spot as almost everyone who ever made progress. Progress doesn't start with perfect clarity. It starts with one small, boring action taken today. Open the account. Move a little money. Cancel one thing. Pick one extra income move and say, I'll do it for 90 days and then reevaluate. Put the next payday's transfer on the calendar. That's it. You don't need a grand plan. You need a first step and a reason. Your reason matters. Saving for saving's sake won't get you through the third week when you're tired of saying no to small conveniences. So write down what your $10,000 does for you. Maybe it lets you leave a job that is slowly eroding your spirit. Maybe it means you can take a month to learn a skill that doubles your pay trajectory over the next 2 years. Maybe it means you never have to argue about money in the cereal aisle again. I don't care if your reason is poetic or practical. I care that you can picture it when you're tempted to quit. Now, a quick word about what happens after you hit the number, because this is where a lot of people wobble. You'll feel an urge to celebrate in a big way, and you should mark the moment, but don't tear down the system that got you there. Keep the automatic transfer. Keep the boring habits. Take a breath, then ask, how much of this cushion do I want to keep, given my job, my health, and my family's needs? Some of you will keep 10. Some will nudge it to 15 or 20. Once that's set, the overflow goes to the long-term compounding machine. Make that machine simple enough that it works when you're on vacation, when you're sick, and when markets are loud. Simple wins because simple survives. I'm often asked, isn't there a faster way? There are always faster ways. Some of them work for a while and then blow up. Some work brilliantly if you are the rare person with the right temperament, timing, and skill. I'm not against ambition. I'm for durability. $10,000 built methodically, preserved intentionally, and used to make slightly better decisions month after month, that will change more about your life than any hot tip. Because you won't just have money. You'll have a new posture. You'll stand a little taller in the face of nonsense. You'll waste less time on drama. You'll know, quietly, that you're okay. If you're partnered, do this as a team. Decide on the milestones together. Celebrate together. If one of you is the spreadsheet person and the other is the big picture person, great. Assign roles. The spreadsheet person handles the automation and the calls to cut costs. The big picture person keeps the reason front and center and helps choose the one-side income move that makes sense. You don't need to become the same person. You need to head in the same direction. If you're single, you still don't have to do this alone. Tell one friend who won't mock your effort. Text them when you hit 1, 3, 6. Ask them what they're working toward and keep each other honest. Mutual accountability is free and surprisingly effective. A few practical reminders before we land this. Keep your freedom fund separate so you don't accidentally spend it. Rename it so you remember why it exists. Automate so your future self doesn't rely on your future willpower. Review once a month, 15 minutes tops. Ask, is the transfer still the right size? Did any expenses creep up that I can push back down? Is there one thing I can ignore or delete this month that gives me a little time or money back? That's the rhythm. Small, steady, boring. Boring builds wealth. You can make your life exciting in other ways. When you get to 10,000, you will notice that your definition of an emergency has changed. Real emergencies still exist, but the fake ones, the ones created by poor timing and bad offers and minor surprises, those lose their power over you. You'll feel the difference the first time you say, "No thanks, not a fit," and you're calm because you know you have room to maneuver. That's the promise, not a pile of stuff, not an identity based on what you own, but the quiet confidence that you can choose. So here's your challenge. Pick your number for the next milestone. If you're at 0, aim for 1,000. If you're at 1, aim for 3. If you're at 3, aim for 6. Put a date on it, not a vague this year, a real date. Then do the 3 moves. Automate the transfer. Trim 3 to 5 fixed costs. Add 1 temporary income stream for 90 days. That's your playbook. Keep it dull. Keep it going. Watch what happens to your shoulders, to your calendar, to your patience. $10,000 won't make the world less chaotic, but it will make you less fragile inside it. And a less fragile you makes better calls, builds better habits, and opens better doors. That's why we do this. Not to impress strangers, not to chase every shiny object, but to build a life where you can look at your options and say, calmly, this one, not that one. If this conversation helped you see the path a little clearer, choose your milestone and your date and write it down somewhere you'll see tomorrow morning. Then take one action today that your future self will thank you for. Open the account. Schedule the transfer. Make the call. Sell the thing. When you hit 10,000, you'll know exactly why we spent this time together. You'll feel it in that simple, powerful word you'll get to use more often. No. And that is the point. Hit $10,000 and start saying no.